Hello everyone, my name's Simon and I run higherplanemusic.com, and on this first video in our PR one sheet series we're going to be looking at defining who you are and what your music is about. This is essentially defining your elevator pitch or your tagline or niche. Lots of different words for pretty much the exact same thing, and it's understanding and explaining really succinctly who you are, what you do, and why not only do you care, but why should fans care too? Some of that might be a little bit more subliminal and further down the page, but at least your tagline should include who you are and what you do. And if you can sneak in a bit of why, all the better, but it doesn't need to be there. Let's break this down a little bit. Essentially, what you're doing is building the very top stone in a pyramid of all of the content that's going to be coming down underneath it. The who you are and what you do kind of is your walls, and then it's not until you've got the supporting structure of the why should anyone care that you've really got a pyramid and a building that you can then build up from. And the idea around this is that you're trying to transition people who might hear one of your pieces of music and go, oh, that's a cool tune, but ultimately forget you and move on, because if they only see a name, or not even that, they don't even see a picture of you, a bio or anything like that whatsoever, they rebound off. They've got no hook to try and get themselves hooked into what you do, and therefore transition from being a listener to a fan. And if you're able to articulate why they should care, you get the kind of dream center of it, because then they transition from being a fan to a fan that cares and that will actively support you. If you're able to get people into this kind of section of the world, that is where the goodness happens for the music industry, and you can be a relatively small undercurrent musician, and if you've got enough people that care about what you do, you can live a sustained life in music. So, sounds all very good. How do you actually get there? Well, there's several different ways how you can do it, and I'm going to throw questions out there that potentially you might want to answer. So the who are you and what do you do for the tagline, this is all around kind of marrying up your genre with maybe a unique niche or skill. So do you use unique instruments? Do you have specific topics that you cover? Do you have a weird and unique clash of genres? So for instance, you could be like a sound healing artist that loves and does death metal, I don't know. That would be a tagline that I would certainly look up and go into, surely. But it could be that you are someone who's had a really checkered past. Maybe you've had substance abuse or alcohol abuse, and therefore you are now healing that through music. That is a tagline that you can dive into and really then explain why it matters and why people should care afterwards. Because intrinsically you can then add value from your shared experiences through your lyrics, through your music, through the blogs or any other stories that kind of come after that. And what you're doing with this pyramid essentially up the top is laying down the foundations for all the different strands of narrative that you can then pull out and create a campaign of by drilling into the detail afterwards. Other things that are really handy to know about would be looking at similar artists to you and how they do it. No one is consciously being frivolous and free-for-all and carefree. Even the people that are being carefree on social media and like all lower letters, there's no capitals, and things like that, and just like posting in text speak. That is still a conscious choice of wanting to portray themselves as someone that doesn't care. Even if that's the I'm just embracing my personality, they've still made that conscious decision to say, do you know what, that is the personality that I'm going to portray, and that will then gravitate an audience towards it. Similarly, if you're going to then talk about, I don't know, sustainability with your music or something like that, again, that becomes your pillars that gives you all of those different things that you can then explore in detail in a couple of paragraphs underneath. With that, you will want to explain not only what music means to you, but maybe if you're looking at promoting a specific song or an EP or an LP, get down to like the golden nugget of what does this piece of work mean to you too. And also What do you want viewers or listeners to get out of it? Viewers if it's a music video, for example. Listeners if it's an EP, LP, single. What do you want them to get out of it? And what value does your work then bring to the listener? Because it's around that individual kind of nuance that you get to stand out being an artist. And it also then hooks people in to get them to transition from listener to fan that cares. A couple of other things that are worthwhile throwing in there as well is around what makes you tick. And that doesn't necessarily need to be in a music world. It could be that you're doing music in a certain sub community, for example. But also, what does the music make you feel, or what do you want the music to make the listener feel? Because again, that is about getting people almost preconditioned into a certain emotion so that when they listen to your music, they expect to be full of either extreme party vibes or sadness or melancholy or wistfulness, nostalgia, all of those kind of things all play a part. And if you're able to understand how you want your listeners to feel, then you'll be able to precondition that by dropping those feeling words into your text. So I hope that was informative. Remember, your tagline and niche, one sentence and one sentence only, then a couple of paragraphs around all of those other questions down there. And you've essentially got the main body of the text of what you're going to be having for your one sheet PR campaign, but also you've pretty much got a bio for all of your social media profiles, as well as your About Me on your website. Join us for part 2 in the video series, where we're going to be exploring all about where your fans and yourself should call home online. Hope this was informative. Any questions, drop a comment down below, and pop over to highplaymusic.com to discover your next musical crush.